Welcome. We're here for Shout 8 of the Illumination series, and we are here at the Villa Amio in the Chambra Pavilion, and Jeff is getting ready to channel. And again, that's on the big island of Hawaii. Very beautiful place. So with that, Jeff is getting ready. Let's us all get ready and prepare with that conscious breath. Such an important thing we do. We breathe all the time, but this is a time when you just sit comfortably, whatever that means to you, and you take that good deep breath of life, that conscious breath, breathing into you, into the heart of you. Take that good deep breath, that breath of allowing. That opens us to so many potentials. Just breathe and feel. Flow with your body, your soul, your divine, all that you are. Breathe the I am, I exist. I am that I am, I exist. Take that breath of presence. Breathe. Breathe and allow. Flowing. Breathing with all that you are into this now moment. Breathe as we go on to this special session.
So close, no matter how far. Couldn't be much more from the heart. Forever trusting who we are, and nothing else matters. Never opened myself this way. Life is ours, we live it our way. All these words I don't just say, ooh, and nothing else matters. Trust I seek and I find in you. Every day for us something new. Open mind for a different view. Oh, oh, and nothing else matters. Oh, never cared for what they do. Never cared for what they know. But I know.
No matter how far, couldn't be much more from the heart. Forever trusting who we are, and nothing else matters.
Trust I see and I find in you. Every day for us something new. Open mind for a different view. And nothing else matters. And nothing else matters. Never cared for what they say. They never cared for what they say. Never cared for games they play. Oh, close, no matter how far. Couldn't be much more from the heart. Forever trusting who we are, and nothing else matters.
I am that I am, Adamus of Saint Germain. Welcome to this shout, this beautiful shout, this beautiful gathering. As music was playing, I was feeling into all of you who were joining in. There's always some music up front for those of you who are listening live. And just to play off of that, the song Nothing Else Matters. I have to ask the question to each and every one of you, what matters in your life? What really matters? Now, keep it to 5 points. Keep it to just a few words per point, but what really matters in your life? Take a moment and feel that. What really matters? The human mind, it jumps in, as you probably noticed, and it gets kind of muddled and confused. And if it does, stop for a moment and feel into it again, but as the master. As the master. You know, that's your wisdom from all the lifetimes that you've ever had, and that master is available now. It's here. So ask yourself as the master, what really matters in your life? 5 points, few words. Jot it down if you want. What really matters? You know, the funny thing is, and you can continue to play with it, but the funny thing is that you have all these things happening in your life every day, and you know, ups and downs and twists and turns, and one moment you're sick, the next moment you're feeling fine, one moment you got all this drama stuff going on, usually with other people. And the next minute it quiets down. 1 minute you feel you're the master. The next minute you feel you're kind of that despicable human. But if you take a really good feel into it, what really matters as the master? It's pretty simple. It's pretty simple. Now, I'm not going to go through all the potential answers, but it tends to be things like, I matter. I matter. That should be at the top of your list. I matter. To me, my journey, my life, that's what matters. Love matters, but about love for yourself. It's not about loving everybody else. That's going to play into it. When you love yourself, you really start to understand loving other people. Up to now, you're just an amateur, playing the game of love when you really don't love yourself. What matters is having some peace within yourself. It's been a lot of lifetimes of not having that, the going back and forth in search of that whole question, who am I? And then going through this whole metamorphosis into realization and staying on the planet. So a little peace, a little solace, a little joy, that should matter. Beyond that, not a lot matters. It really doesn't. It's so easy to get tangled up into all the stuff going on in life and to still come back to these nagging questions. Am I doing the right thing? Why do I feel terrible? Those things, they really don't matter. You're wasting a lot of your energy with that constant kind of mental self-evaluation. It really doesn't matter. None of it. What matters is you, is the love of yourself, is the joy of staying here on the planet. It's pretty much it. Pretty much it. Anything beyond that is a lot of macchio, a lot of spiritual constipation, a lot of wasting your own time. And the thing is, when you let all the rest of these things interfere with your life, just the daily issues and things like that, you'd waste a lot of time, but your energy gets directed to those things. You're like a big magnet for your own energy. It will come if you want to worry about every little detail, if you want to stress over every little thing, if you're constantly in that mind nagging of self. The energies will support that. They don't care. But if you take a deep feel into it, what really matters? Not a lot. Not a lot. The energies will then realign and support what really matters. What really matters. A master starts to realize that things like actual abundance doesn't really matter. It actually is no longer even a word in your vocabulary. It's just there. Master realizes even things like health don't really matter. I mean, they do if you're not in good health, but ultimately they don't really matter because you are in a state of health now, in a state of vibration. You're going through a lot of stuff because you're really going out of the old biology and into your light body. And you're going to feel it, but it doesn't really matter. I spent a relatively short lifetime, back hundreds, thousands maybe of years ago, as a Zen monk, part of the time in China and then part in Japan. It was an interesting lifetime. I wanted to experience Zen. Zen is that constant questioning of the purpose. What is the purpose of life? And you get into Zen and it twists your mind. It does. But it actually in such a way that gets you to some clarity because you realize nothing matters. It really doesn't. Nothing really matters. And you realize that, well, like I said, it was a short life, and I kept on asking myself, what's the purpose? And in Zen, I realized there is no purpose, Grasshopper, there is no purpose. And with that, I exited the lifetime, not out of disgust or anger or anything else, but there's no purpose. So I left and realized actually there is a beauty. Maybe it's not what you define as a purpose or a goal, but there is a beauty to life. And if there is a purpose, if there is a reason, that perhaps is it. Just the beauty, the sheer beauty of being able to live in this reality. I love that lifetime. It was a constant back and forth with the other Zen masters. It's like you're constantly playing this game of Zen chess. But it doesn't matter if you win or lose. It doesn't matter. In Zen, you realize you strip everything down to the essence, and even then, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. Other than what matters to you. That's really Zen. Nothing matters except what matters to you. And that's why I love Zen. But after a while, it gets a little frustrating. What matters is what matters to you. That's it. Feel into that again. What really matters in this lifetime? What really makes a difference? Not much. You probably say that, 99% of what occupies your mind and takes up your energy and stresses you out doesn't really matter. So it begs the question, why do people do it? Well, partly because they don't know any better. They've never been a Zen monk or studied in the way so many of you have. They do it because it occupies them. It occupies them. It gives them experiences. It gives them stories. It occupies the day. It gives them something to do. But you also get to a point of realizing it doesn't really matter, none of that. What really matters, other than self, other than love of self, the beauty of being here, the beauty of yourself, the beauty of nature, even the beauty at times of other people. And I'm not saying that's the answer, that was my answer. The beauty of life. You're here in this incredible place, a very tough place as well, But you know, in its very toughness, in the challenges of life, it actually allows you to perceive beauty in a different way, in a much more clear way, in a more poignant way. So what mattered to me was the beauty of life, and that's why after that short lifetime as a Zen monk, I came back again for the beauty of myself, of everything around me, of experiencing my energy, and the beauty of how energy and light turn into something like this. That's pretty amazing. That turns into this reality that gives life to your biology, your mind, your everything, your experiences. Even the worst experiences have a beauty to them. So as we open this out, I do have to say that it's going to be a little different than normal. We're going to have a very long Merab, so get comfortable, get relaxed. And if you fall asleep during the Merab, well, some of you are already asleep, but if you fall asleep during the Merab, that's fine. Zen question of the day. What comes after completion? What comes after completion? Feel into it for a moment and feel into it as the master. What comes after completion? I'll give you a moment to contemplate that. Well, I chatted up with Linda. Linda of Isa, how are you today? They're contemplating, we're just talking.
Weird.
As always?
More weird.
More weird as always. Why is that?
I'm still trying to sort it out.
Sort what out?
Why I'm feeling so weird.
Oh, why try to sort it out? I mean, that's going to get you absolutely nowhere.
Well, it's annoying to feel so weird.
Why? I mean, how are you feeling weird? In what way?
Uncomfortable.
Keep thinking about what comes after completion. We're just chatting it up over here.
Uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable because I'm here.
No, not because of the non.
Uncomfortable because is something big happening in your life? Something going on?
I'm not totally sure, but I've been having a lot of fun with Jeff and Belle, and I'm lamenting, I think, anticipating, having to do something else.
Yeah. I don't think that's the real reason, but it's okay, because you'll be having to leave Belle behind for a little bit. She'll be fine. But no, there's something else going on. What is that? I'll put words in your mouth if you don't mind. It's today's shout, and what comes after. Sure, you're picking up on it. You're picking up on all the Shaumbra out there, and you're picking up on kind of crossing into something new. And there's always anxiety, and there's always concern, and you should be excited. You should be excited. We're gonna do something new today.
But that doesn't happen so often. Why is this one so anxious, anxiety?
We've been building up to it for a while. A lot of Shaumbra are ready. A lot of Shaumbra are really tired now of the way they were living, and they're really saying no more, because it's time to get on with it. You can drag stuff around, your family stuff, your job stuff, maybe you're not happy with the state of your life right now, relationships or where you live or things like that. But yet people still go through it, and it doesn't make a lot of sense. And as we become more filled with light and more personally, you could say, empowered, suddenly you realize we can change this. And it does then, not because you're thinking your way into it or powering your way through your mind, because suddenly you're ready for a change, and then the change occurs.
But if this is supposed to be, something that feels better, why do I feel so uncomfortable?
Zen question, why do you feel so uncomfortable?
Because I can.
Yes, because you can, because you got nothing better to do maybe, or because it's a departure. It's leaving the human self behind. It's, in a way, the death of an identity. And that's scary, because what comes after that? And the human mind can't possibly imagine what comes next. When it does, it limits the next to its human limitations. So you come to this point of completion. What comes after that? Well, you could argue that nothing happens after completion. It's complete. You're done. That's it. Maybe you go out of existence, which isn't going to happen. Maybe you just exist. You just like all day, all night, all eternity, I exist. And you just exist, which actually isn't so bad. But for the human, it sounds boring.
Yes, it does.
It sounds very boring. The human has to have something to do. The human likes to gnaw on problems, obsess on problems. The human really likes to give me something to have to work on. And it does it obsessively over and over again until you absolutely tire of it. And a lot of you have done that, and you think, well, I'm really tired of it. You're not tired enough, because you're going to jump right back into it. So then it comes a point you say, no, really, I'm done, I'm tired, and there's no more. What's the purpose? So, here we are talking about that very question. And for you listening in, what comes after completion? Perhaps nothing? Or perhaps something that could not have been imagined by the mind. So let's take a good deep breath. Feel into that for a moment. What comes next? What comes next? And while you're doing that, we're going to resolve a few technical issues that we have going on here. Take a deep breath. Nothing else matters. Good. Okay. So, dear Shaumbra, you come to the point of completion. What happens after completion? Do you just start another cycle? No, you don't. You go to something totally new and different, unimaginable for the most part to the human, for the most part. Because still in the human mind, you can't really effectively, fully imagine what lies beyond. Because you humanize it, you put it into human terms and human perspective, but there is something. So when you feel into that Zen question, what comes after completion? Something. And maybe not immediately in your perception, but something. It awaits you. It's there already. You, as the human, do not have to make it, create it, build it, architect it, fashion it, or any of those things. It's there waiting for you. And there's some anxiety with that, because what is it? Is it good for me? Is it going to kill me? Is it going to hurt me? Is it going to cause me stress and consternation and everything? I don't know. It's just something. So you feel into that, something, and that's exactly what we're going to do today. You feel into something. You come to the point of completion, and in Zen, we called it samsara. Samsara. Samsara means exactly that. You're coming to the end of cycles, particularly when you think in terms of the human incarnational cycles of death and birth. You come to the end of that. It's samsara. And nothing's ahead. When you're looking at it through your human eyes, nothing is ahead. And that's damn scary. The human likes to feel what comes next, even if it's not necessarily tangible or clear. It's just like, okay, we're going to go into the next round. There's kind of a nothingness out there, but in that nothingness, as in Zen, there is something. Nothing is nothing. We could go on all day like this, but there is nothing in nothing except everything. But it's still nothing. So what is it? You come to samsara. You come to the end of a path, an era. You come to the end of your lifetimes. Most Shaumbra have acknowledged within themselves, no more lifetimes. Let's wrap it up right here. Samsara. And where do we go from here? What happens? Well, the master will tell you, don't worry about it. and don't think about it. It's just going to make you depressed and sad and feeling anxiety. Don't even think about it. But the human is, oh no, I got to know what happens. And what about this? What about that? And it's like the master's like, will this human ever shut up? Will this human just take a deep breath? Nothing matters except what matters to you. All the rest of that, all the noise in life, all the commotion, all the traffic, all the people, all the family members, all the drama, all your past lives, doesn't matter. It really doesn't, unless you want it to, and then they will manifest. They will be there along with your problems and your illnesses and your depression and your sadness and all the challenges in your life and being a victim and everything else. Then it really matters. Then you got a lot of energy and now a lot of light pouring into that until you take that deep breath into samsara, the end of old cycles. And as we go into today, you realize you don't get on a new cycle. You don't get into that old pattern and that old trap, just maybe looking a little bit better or being a little smarter. Not at all. We go off the circular, that continuation that you've been on, and go into something different. And what is it, you say? Well, it's for you to find out. I'll tell you right now, though, it's not necessarily linear. It's not just a bigger circle. It's not just being a happy human and doing nothing. It's much more than that. It's maturity. It's maturity. I've talked about it a lot recently at some of the gatherings here, as you know. It's maturity. And maturity comes with experience. You can't have maturity without having had experiences. And the experiences, it's not even that they're teaching anything to you. It's not about lessons in life. I've never liked that idea of life being a lesson. It's not. It's an experience. But you do go through things and you learn from them, mostly. Sometimes not so much. You go into these experiences, and the experiences are for the joy, for the light, for just being there and doing it with no particular necessary purpose to it other than just being in it because you can. And as you go into your experiences of many, many lifetimes, at some point you become more mature. You realize that there are certain ways to do things for your happiness and joy. Certain ways not to do things because they make you miserable and they make the people around you miserable as well. You realize that there are things that matter and many things that don't. Many, many, many things that do not matter. And you let those go. That's maturity. Maturity has nothing to do with intelligence. Although I would have to say the more mature one becomes, the more intelligent they become as a human. Maturity is not something you can work at. It is something that you receive and allow. And what happens after many, many lifetimes, you come up to a point of maturity. You come to a point of being seasoned, understanding more and more of what's really important, what matters to you. And that maturity then is the very thing that puts you into that state of nirvana. Now, nirvana, that's a big word. Many of you think that nirvana is just being a bliss ninny, running around the planet just in total bliss. That's kind of a Western view of it. Samsara is that point of, it's a point of death. It's a point of no more. It's a point of no more cycles. And when I say death, I'm not talking about just your physical body. I'm talking about your beingness. It's the point for that to die. It's the point to, and if it doesn't die, kill it, because it is no longer serving you. And those are all frightening thoughts. What a lot of Shaumbra want is to drop a few things and just continue on a little bit lighter, but still holding on to a lot of the old stuff. And it's very difficult to do because if you're still holding on to things that don't matter, ultimately don't matter, you're going to be pulled right back in to all that old stuff. It's a matter of, Calder is going to use the word conceding, that could possibly be used, but releasing. It's a matter of releasing. And yes, it takes a tremendous amount of courage, but then it doesn't take any whatsoever. It takes a tremendous amount of trust in yourself, but trust is inherent, so you don't have to work at it. It's already there. So we go from this point of samsara, now particularly with the apocalypse upon us, where it's the end. And it's not just starting a new beginning like the old one, but a little bit better. It's not like just putting new tires on your car. That's what I think a lot of Shaumbra think that realization is, you've got some really old, worn-out tires from having gone through many, many, many lifetimes, and now you're going to put new tires on your car and call that realization. It's much more than that. It's much more. And that's the point in general with Shaumbra where we're at. The point I'm pushing as well. Today is about let's just do it. Let's just do it. Nirvana means a rebirth of self without the human working on it. I have to stress that. Without the human working on it, get the hell out of your way. What's happening right now within you is natural, maybe scary to the human, doesn't realize what's going on. Why do I feel this way? Well, for the human, just feel that way. I mean, just dive into that feeling in trust, dive into that feeling, and stop trying to mess with it. In Nirvana, it's not just about the bliss at all. It's about recreating oneself, but not at the level of the human. The recreation occurs at the level of the master. And that master then hands these gifts to the human and says, now live them. Live in this new way. Experience in this new way. Be with this new light. And that's what's happening. Right now is the time of apocalypse. We started with that last year, March 22nd, from a overall standpoint, but now we come into it deeper and deeper and deeper, into your personal apocalypse. That's what's happening right now. Moving into the depths of your personal apocalypse. And what does apocalypse mean? Not disaster, not everything, not the world blowing up or falling apart. Apocalypse simply means revealing or revelation. You're going into your personal apocalypse right now. A revelation that is long overdue, that is well deserved by you, well deserved. That might be a bit frightening to the human because they're not sure what's happening to them. But, going back to the old metaphor, the caterpillar didn't know what was happening to it either. But in the allowing, in the cocoon actually, and getting smashed to pieces, I call that allowing. In the allowing, it transformed and it turned into something in this moment of samsara, something that it couldn't have imagined before, into the nirvana of the butterfly. It occurs with the maturity of the human, and eventually that maturity becomes part of the master. And from henceforth, from this moment on, you're going to be called more and more to acknowledge the master within, to stop relying on the old human ways. Now, the beauty of this is the master came from the human. It's not like it came, from some celestial place or often some other planet. And no, it understands the human. It comes from the maturity of the human. And it is a direct link to the divine. The Master is the closest thing that you have to God. Closest thing, because it is working at a level of the maturity, of the wisdom, but yet it understands the human. So human, start backing away. Better yet, start packing up, getting ready to leave for where? Doesn't matter, does it? And that Master is coming in now. The Master is filled with wisdom. And it's filled with the wisdom of the love that you have come to know in your lifetimes. The Master does not need to rely on the brain for its decisions, for its choices, for what matters. It knows at a very different level. The human still plays an important role in some of the more functional logistics of staying in this planet as a biological being, but even that's shifting. The human is particularly important right now in the experience of going into the mastery and staying on the planet. So many of these issues, the issues of, for instance, samsara, were not big issues for the previous masters. When they came to samsara, they went to nirvana, they crossed over, they left. They didn't stick around for the most part. So the discussions that we're having right now are very different than the things that they experienced. The discussions we're having right now have to do with staying here on the planet. And in a way, it's a challenge, but I ask you to change the perspective of that. It's really not a challenge. It's only odd and foreign to the human, but it's actually really not a challenge. It is an opportunity. It is a new way to live and experience on the planet. It's a new way to allow yourself to shine your light. In the past, when I was a Zen monk, we talked about samsara, and that was it. That was done. You were finished with your lifetimes on the planet. Adios, goodbye. Pack them up. Now it's very different. Now it's about how to gracefully go into that next level of being the true master, of having the human facet of the master still present, but the human no longer having, Calder is double checking me on this, but no, the human no longer has to fight their way through life. The human no longer has to make the tough decisions. Not at all. And to some humans, that they may not like that. They want to be that one controlling things, but try allowing the master in. And the human just to enjoy the ride. Let the master drive the car, do the maintenance, take care of things, figure out what comes next, and the human just to be in the passenger seat enjoying it. I know a lot of humans are screaming out, no, I insist I have to drive. I have to do everything. Well, that's fine, but then you're still in the same old cycles. You're just trying to make it a little better. Let the human now sit in the passenger seat. Let the master come in. It's a whole different way of living. It's a whole different way of experiencing your realization as you stay here on the planet. But right now, let's take a deep breath. This is your personal apocalypse. It's the revelation. The revelation of who you really are. And ultimately, the revelation of and the understanding of how energy and consciousness work together. That's what the master wants to do. You say, what matters to the master? That would be another one. How do they effectively work together, consciousness and energy? I told the group that was here recently that when I retire from Crimson Circle, that, I've got other plans. Not things I have to do, but desires. I have my true soul desires. And that next level is to work on bringing energy and consciousness together in singularity, in oneness. Right now, you're experiencing what it's like to play with energy and consciousness, but they're in a way separate components. But the next step for me is to work with several of you and other angelic beings in ultimately bringing consciousness and energy together. So that's my desire, that's my passion. But I come back to the thing right now. It's your personal apocalypse. And what's happening is the human is slowly fading away. Even if you resist, it's still going to slowly fade away. And what comes in after that is the true master. To stay embodied here on the planet, to go through the whole process of integrating the light body, and to be here to radiate, to shine their light on the planet. Let's talk about new light for a moment. We've been talking about it in Kihak to a degree in the Shouds, but new light is very different than what I call classic light, typical light. Light is a result of energy being called into service, whether it's by the soul, by the master, by the human, but it, particularly in this case, let's say the human, wanting or desiring something, believing certain ways, wanting an experience according to their beliefs, whether they're conscious of it or not. What happens is that the moment there is that desire of the human, not the thought so much, but the desire, and the desire could range from anything from fear to happiness, from abundance to illness. And you say, well, that wouldn't be the human desire, but actually, if you look at it, there is at times, and not consciously. Human doesn't want to consciously get sick for the most part, but there is something to be wanted to be experienced or wanting to have happen based on the perspective of the human of themselves. That calls forth light. Boom, energy comes in now flowing as light. That light now creates gravity. Yes, the light creates gravity. That gravity creates time and space, and all that put together starts creating the material world. Waveforms, particles, atoms, molecules, cells, organs, brains, and everything else. But what's happening is the light is now, it doesn't even actually move, but the light is shining upon something, and therefore it becomes. So what's happening right now is that light that you've been working with forever, that light that creates reality, the reality which then gives you a playground for experiences, that light is changing. And it's what I call the new light. And literally what happens in this, you see, all the experiences you've ever had in this lifetime or any, they're kind of stored in this place called the Akasha. And it's personal. It's not in any one place, but it's just kind of all the memories, everything you've ever experienced or done is still there. And it's all yours. You don't share it with, it's not like renting a storage unit at a great big storage facility where you have your stuff and everybody has theirs and it's all in there. It's not like that. It's only yours. And with every experience you have, it fills it a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more until you come to the point of maturity. And you realize you don't need to keep adding to the experiences in the way you have done before. In other words, now it's time to do a quantum change of how you experience life. So when that maturity comes about, when you as the human say, it's time for something different, and when the master definitely says, okay, we're gonna change the game here, then the Akasha starts releasing stories, memories, experiences. You know, it's gotten bloated. It's gotten huge and bloated with all these experiences. It's stuffed with junk that you really don't need anymore, that don't matter anymore. And now the Akasha opens up. and start slowly releasing experiences, stories, events, lifetimes back to the soul. Well, the soul takes a look at all this incoming stuff, and oh my gosh, all this garbage coming in, and all the experiences and the details, and the soul's like, hey, hang on a second, we gotta clean this up. And the soul then brings it to wisdom. Says, we don't need all the details. We don't need to know what date something happened, or every little emotion or feeling you went through, and we don't even need to know mathematics or science or any of that. The soul doesn't care. So the soul brings it to wisdom. Now, within the purity of wisdom is everything you would want to know, everything you'd want to remember at the right time when you need to know it or remember it. But it's not like it's all being stored there. It just reappears if you need it at some point. But now what the soul does is it cleanses all that stuff, and it cleanses it right down to wisdom. And the soul takes a deep breath. Wisdom. I love the wisdom. And it lights up. The soul lights up, and when it does, it shares that wisdom with the I Am. The beauty of everything that you've ever done. And then the soul then takes that wisdom, makes it available back to the master and to you. And that's the new light. It pretty much operates like the old light, except it's got wisdom. It has maturity. It has depth. And it won't do things like you might have done with the old light. It won't keep repeating things over and over, thinking that the outcome is going to change. It will know intuitively and instantly. And with that wisdom, for the human has a lot of needs and wants, a lot of them. Most of them actually really don't matter. But what happens now is the human realizes they don't have to stress over their daily needs and wants, because one of the attributes of new light, things just come to you. Sometimes before you even know you need them. I've talked about this a lot in the past. It comes to you. But now, instead of being a theory, instead of being something that's nice to think about, it actually happens. It just starts coming to you. The human is baffled. Human thinks, it's just there. How did that happen? Human, don't worry about it. That's the way the new light works. Sometimes the human thinks, well, I'm out of a job. Because now it's just showing up. I don't have to work for it. I don't have to stress over it. I don't have to obsess. And I think I'm out of a job. That's what I really did well as a human. I worked hard and I stressed and I was in pain and I was suffering, and now I don't have to do any of that. What's the purpose? Why be here? Again, I go back to, quite simply, to enjoy the beauty. That's it. To enjoy the beauty. One of the attributes of new light, and there are many, but one of the attributes is it doesn't come from the human. You can't make it. You can't increase the size or the volume. You can only experience it. You can't fabricate it in your mind. You can't really even think about it. You can experience it. The new light isn't going to come to you in some great big explosion, fireworks, some huge cathartic change in your life. That happened to the immature human. When you had those big experiences that you want to have again right now, it was the immature human experiencing that. And with a new light, with your maturity, it doesn't happen that way. It's extremely subtle. The new light is so subtle that you may not even realize it's right there. It's right there. You're looking for something big out there. It's subtle in here. But yet in its subtlety, It's very deep. It's, what do you say, unconflicted. The human tends to be conflicted about a lot of things, especially when working with light, the classic light. But the new light, there's not this conflict. And therefore, maybe you don't feel it because you're used to feeling conflict and duality and separation and challenge and fights. It's not there. It is so beautifully subtle. Subtle doesn't mean it's wimpy. It doesn't mean that it's not effective. It means that you now have the maturity. You now have the balance. And you're not going to be going up and down like that. Well, it's not that you flatline, but you open and expand. So as the new light comes into your life, which it will, I mean, it's a natural thing, the new light comes in. You can pray for it all day long, and it's going to come in at the right time and the right place, and you can't make more of it try to come in. You allow it. That's it. The new life, the new light is like the new life, is like the nirvana. And you go through a process of that change from the human trying to do everything, control everything, think everything, and suddenly you realize that you don't have to. You don't need to. And really the human starts giving way to the master. And that's exactly what's happening right now. It's the personal apocalypse. Let's take a deep breath with that. So what really matters, or what comes after completion, let's find out without trying to think our way through it or manage it. Let's just allow it to happen. Now, it's time for our Mirab. Let's put in the music. Dear Shaumbra, take a good deep breath, relax. Take a good deep breath and relax and enjoy. Remember, Mirab, it's not the time for trying to think about it. And, doesn't that hurt to try to think about everything? And when you realize you don't have to. A natural process takes place where the human evolves into the master devolves into the human. And so many things now just start taking care of themselves. This is Mirab of remembering, but remembering something that prior to this would have been difficult to remember. Remembering that you've chosen to be here. And maybe not at a level that you can remember with the human mind, but I ask you to remember into who you really are. Let's take a deep breath as we go into this Mirab of remembrance. It's remembering that you came into this lifetime knowing it would be very different. There would be many challenges and transformations. And then you come to that point of what I'm calling samsara, where it just ends. But end doesn't mean final, it doesn't mean complete, it just is the end of an old way of doing things. It would have been difficult to imagine what comes next. It would have been difficult to do this a while back Because, you see, if we'd have gone out there, even in the imagination, we'd have gone out there and so what comes next, you would have probably just gotten a big blank, a big nothing. It's kind of a personal point of singularity, meaning things change so much that they wouldn't be recognized by, well, the old self. Didn't have the capacity to imagine like that. But now with the maturity and the wisdom and the new light, we can now remember, we can now imagine into what comes next. And it's not just being a little better human at all. It's something far beyond that. So, I ask you to take a deep breath and remember what comes next. Your point of remembering is not even necessarily from this lifetime as a human. Because most all of you didn't really know, you couldn't imagine it. The remembrance comes from the soul level. The soul desire to end the cycles of the human life, yet stay here on the planet for a while. It's always been there in your potentials. It's always been there, but very distant, very out of consciousness for the most part. But today we can visit that remembrance of the soul beyond samsara into the divine. The details were never known by the soul, not at all. I didn't say on certain dates these certain things are going to happen, not at all. The soul simply knew that something new comes now. Something that is well beyond the human condition. Something that defies logic. Take a deep breath and now, as the Master, remember. Remember into what comes next. In Zen, they would say, nothing comes next. Nothing. But we're going to leapfrog right over that. We're going to go beyond that. What comes next? It's not nothing. It's totally new. It's way beyond. Let yourself feel into this and remember the higher calling between the human and the soul. And that human slowly fading. as the light of the Master comes in. It's not needed to do what it did before. Let this desire of the soul be with you now to remember it. It's a feeling, it's a sense, it's not details. It's there. It's there. Let it come to you. Some of you, you're trying to go out and search for it. No, let it come to you as the Master. The remembrance of and the knowingness of beyond samsara. The Master and the soul have always known, have always felt, have always understood this potential could come. Not sure when or exactly how, but never worried about those details. Never. For they knew. They've always known. Take a deep breath now as the Master and remember. Remembering the soul's desire to turn experiences into wisdom and offer them back. As the Master incarnate on earth, to offer this back to the Master. Remembering how the human, it comes to completion. It steps aside to allow the Master of itself, the Master, the true Master now, to be here and present. Many of you have thought and dreamt about life as a human, about doing things, accomplishing things, and all that is wonderful because it gave you a lot of experiences. A lot of you have thought about things like realization, enlightenment. Sometimes it felt very close, other times very elusive, very distant. And if you remember now, it was always there. Now what comes next? Let yourself remember. Oh, and please again, as the Master. And the Master already understands you don't need the details, you don't need specifics. It's a sense, it's a knowingness what comes next. Now let that come to you, remembering. And dear human, now, quiet down. let go, and move aside so the Master can be right here. Another way of saying it is, please remember that you are the Master. Remember a dream of being here. In your own freedom and released of all those deep limitations of being here and living the new light. This is a desire of the soul, a desire of the Master, and in the remembering now, you bring it here. The fading of the human is not a sad thing. Portions of that humanness will still be here to serve the very specific human needs, but the human will no longer have to manage and handle everything and make all the decisions. Human, that facet of you can now quiet down, settle down, as you remember yourself as the Master. Another way of putting it is the intense focus on just the human facet. That can give way now, open up, as you remember yourself now as the Master. As you remember the soul's desire to be here in light and in new light. Breathe in and remember. It's all right there. It's all yours. Breathe in and remember. Let it come to you. Remembering is opening up yourself. It's opening up to what's always actually been there, to desires that have been there for so very long. And beauty is, it's not about, again, it's really not about anything new, so to speak. Nothing's new, it's always been there. Always the potential for you, the Master, to be here on this planet in the new light. And now it's just remembering back into that. And then it's there. It's actually not even about believing it, it's simply remembering it. And then it'll come to you. You don't have to force yourself to believe or to work at it. It's just taking a deep breath, opening up, and remembering. As you do, it's like you start to get that feeling it's always been there. It's always been there. You just weren't conscious of it. The Master Incarnate has always been here. But there's been such a focus on that human facet and the human needs and wants, the human's constant, what's the purpose? Now you can take a deep breath and just remember. And as you do now, the energies work different. The experiences come to you differently. There's much less having to work at life. As you open up and remember that you are the Master, that you've always been here, you also remember that things just come to you. Oh, that wasn't the human experience. The human had to scrape and crawl for just about everything. But as you remember the Master, it's very, very different. Let's take a deep breath into the remembrance, what was a dream and what now becomes very real. Take a deep breath and let it in. Let the human evolve into the Master now. Samsara is the end of the cycles. And that's exactly what's happening now, but an end not meaning death, simply meaning a new way. Let's take a deep breath into remembering. Good deep breath. I'll tell you something that as you remember, you're not going to forget. You're not going to forget it. It simply becomes part of your imprint, your identity, your consciousness. You're not going to forget. And please don't work at remembering. Remembering is just another way of saying allowing. Take a good deep breath into yourself as the Master, as the human now. It comes to the end of its cycles. The human facet has done what it was supposed to do. But now that that's coming to an end, now the Master emerges and lives quite differently, lives and plays with this new light quite differently. Let's all take a good deep breath together on this beautiful day. And back to the Zen, what happens after completion is what you allow yourself to remember. Good deep breath. With that, dear friends, I look forward to having my audience back next month. When I come here to Kona, I love doing the shouts with you, but I love the audience. I love the interaction, the interplay, the humor, the embarrassment, every part of it. So until we meet again next month, back at the Connection Center in Colorado, I am Adamus of Saint Germain. Thank you.
And so it is. Once more, take that good deep breath, that breath of life, allowing this experience to be there with you, to just allow it. to flow with it. Be that good deep breath of life. Again, allowing these highest potentials, they're there for each of us. Take the good deep breath and feel the energies of Adamus here serving us. Breathe with it, flow with it. And more than anything, thank you for being a part of this shout. Thanks again, and we'll be back for the June shout. Thank you.
Ring the bells that still can ring. Forget your perfect offering. There is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. The birds they sang at the break of day. Start again, I seem to hear them say. Do not dwell on what has passed away or what is yet to be. Yeah, the wars, they will be fought again. The holy dove, she will be caught again. Bought and sold and bought again. The dove is never free. Ring the bell that still can ring. Forget your perfect offering. There is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. We asked for signs, and the signs were sent. The birth betrayed, the marriage spent. Yeah, the widowhood of every single government. Signs for all to see. I can't run no more with that lawless crowd, while the killers in high places say their prayers out loud. Ah, but they've summoned up a thundercloud, and they're gonna hear from me.